I know. Perfect.
I know, it's really quiet.
Okay. Everyone ready?
I just texted Lori.
Pardon? Oh, we don't have the mission? Okay. All right.
Do we
Well
have a
then.
video from Abika or no?
Yes. Okay. Hello. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, August 1st, and this is a special meeting of the Board of Education. Thank you all for coming in the middle of your summer. First order of business is roll call.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Trustee Ashaluni? Trustee Holcomer?
Here.
Trustee Joseph?
Here.
Trustee McKinney?
Here.
Trustee Rass?
Here.
Trustee Spencer?
Here.
And Trustee Zammit? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for public communication, I'm going to go ahead and read our public comment policy. Because the Birmingham Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in public, we welcome public comment on school issues. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks that comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not on specific personnel. We welcome your comments, but cannot discuss nor debate items not on the agenda. When asked to discuss non-agenda items, we can share facts but not engage in discussion. And I have one, Mr. Scott Worrell.
Good evening, trustees of the Board of Education and members of the administration and the audience. My name is Scott Worrell, teacher here for 23 years in Birmingham and now the executive director of the MEA. I've come to thank the board for its due diligence with the contracts they are about to approve today, and those for the two groups that I represent of the three, the Birmingham Association of Paraprofessionals and the Birmingham Association of Office Personnel, Secretaries. And thank to Dean Neforos and Stacy Wigton and their team in Human Resources, Laura Marlowe as well, that was on the paraprofessional contract negotiations. They were fruitful negotiations. There were a lot of language things that we came to agree upon, and economics as well. And I speak on behalf of Kristen Ryan, who's the president of the paraprofessionals, and Tricia Van Hosten, who's the secretary president. And thanks to Board of Education for its cooperative and collaborative process, and Mr. Neforos for the same. So we appreciate you, and we know that you appreciated our members. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Joan, I do not have any other public comment, so we will move on to the superintendent's report, and I believe we have a video. Dr. Roberson's not with us today, but she recorded a message for us.
Thank you, President Holcomer. I appreciate you allowing me to give my superintendent's update through video. Well, I want to say welcome back to the trustees. This is your first official special meeting of the new school year. I also want to say welcome back to our administrators and secretaries. For our 11-month administrators and secretaries, they started back in the buildings this week. Also wanted to give a couple of updates. One about some of our new hires that started this week. We're happy to have Kate Martin, the new principal at Pierce Elementary, and Blair Kelso, the new principal at Harlan Elementary. And then we also have Mike Wicker. Although he is not new to Seahome, he is moving from the assistant principal position to principal position. So we want to say welcome. His first official week in the new school year, as well as because Mike Wicker has moved from assistant principal to principal, Brad Shopry will be taking his position. For some of you who may not know, Brad Shopry was department head for science, and so he's moving into that assistant principal position. And hopefully by the time you are watching this on Tuesday evening, we have finalized the BCS principalship. So I am not going to say that person's name at this time, but if we have finalized the contract by then, I know that our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dina Foros, will share the information about our new BCS hire. Tonight on the agenda, you will also see a resolution for the School Resource Officer contract, SRO contract. That is even though we've had a police liaison at both Rose High School and Seaholm High School who have serviced the students of Beverly Hills and Birmingham, we are moving from a police liaison system to a school resource officer system. And that school resource officer system allows us to have a dedicated person in our buildings focused on the needs of our students completely full-time, as well as making sure that they receive the training necessary, not only police training that happens through the city of Birmingham in this case, but also training that we need a police officer to have who's going to be working on a full-time basis with students. And so we're really excited about that. I want to say thank you to the city of Birmingham, as well as Chief Scott Gruey and Dr. Mark Linenberg and our security director, Aaron Morandini. All of them have worked very hard to make sure that we are able to have a contract at this point. And this evening, we have Aaron Morandini in the audience in case the board trustees have any questions about the SRO contract. That contract is for the city of Birmingham. We are working with the city of Beverly Hills as well. And I know that Dr. Linenberg had a meeting with the city of Beverly Hills on Monday. So you should be receiving an update about that in the upcoming weeks. Lastly, I just want to say thank you to all of the teachers and the staff who worked so hard this summer to provide services for our students. In our summer school, in our extended year program, and also in our community education programs. Tonight you will hear just a brief verbal update from our Assistant Superintendent for Student Learning and Inclusion, April Imperio, as well as our Executive Director of Specialized Services, Laura Mahler, just about how summer school went and how many students participated. Again, very excited for the upcoming school year. I thank you for the opportunity to share my superintendent's update through video, and I hope you have a great meeting.
Okay.
Can I just add real quickly? I want to thank Dr. Roberson for she's on a very well-deserved vacation, but she was fielding questions about tonight's meeting as recent as an hour prior to the meeting. So somewhat of a vacation, but she's still working hard, so I just wanted to acknowledge her for that.
Yes, thank you. And, JC, what's going on? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I thought maybe it was the video.
It sounds like our mics are a lot
Yeah.
louder than they usually are.
Maybe can we turn them down? No.
I can talk louder.
No, you're good.
Okay. I am going to be providing both the updates for April Imperio's instruction department as well as special services. So for special services, we have been running our extended school year program as we typically do every summer, otherwise known as ESY. It is a 6-week program for students who already have an IEP. and who are found eligible to need this type of support over the summer in order to maintain some of their IEP goals. So it's not necessarily to work on anything new, but it's in order to prevent a bit of that summer slide that occurs. And so we have a couple more days left this week, and then the program will be over. We provided a full-time support to 49 students. We also had 19 students come in for tutoring, and about 10 to 12 students that came for just speech or occupational therapy services. It was ran at Seaholm and our adult transition building that is on the same property as Seaholm. And it has gone very, very well. I have just unending thanks to Nancy Kosis, who is our principal or lead of the program. She typically is one of our autism teacher consultants, but she runs the summer program for us and does an excellent job. So I can't thank her and the team of special education teachers, social worker, a couple of speech teachers, and of course our marvelous paraprofessionals that have worked this summer, along with a little bit of occupational therapy and physical therapy support services. So again, these are our most needy students who qualify for this level of support, so we're happy to have provided that over the last 6 weeks. As far as the instruction department, the K-8 summer school served 151 students in grades K-4 and 107 students in grades K-7. Program there focused mostly on mathematics and literacy instruction, although the students were able to participate in some really exciting hands-on experiences in the STEM realm during their time in that program. In addition, there were 83 students in grades 8 through 12 who participated in the high school summer program. There was a variety of opportunities there. We have some students who were retaking a course to improve their grade or to get credit, so a recovery program for some. There were some students who took a PE or a health class in order to clear up some space in their schedule in the upcoming year for other courses that they want to take when school resumes. Our 8th grade going into 9th grade students had the opportunity to take some foundational coursework that hopefully will improve their success in 9th grade this coming year. And then our 10th going into 11th grade students had the opportunity to take part in SAT prep coursework. So that will help them with that upcoming exam for those students that took part.
Laura,
So-
can I ask you before you go on?
Yes.
Excuse me. Do we charge the students, the community for these classes, especially credit recovery or?
All of it was free. The only thing that I believe, I'm gonna give this with a little caveat, that I believe there's a charge for the students who are taking like the PE or health class that is outside of what they would normally take during the school year in order to kind of get ahead and free up that space. But anything that is that's recovery or that was the K-8 program was all free. I believe we used part of our ESSER funds to support that program and pay for those programs. That was part of that pandemic recovery funds.
What about the SAT prep class?
Don't know about the prep class. Sorry.
No, it's
We'll
okay.
find
I
out and
just
get back to you.
want for anyone
Yeah.
watching at home and wanting this important information for next year coming
Yeah.
up. This is good to know.
Yes. Okay, we'll ask April to provide an update and share
Great.
that out. Many thanks to Julie Walker, Cindy Settiseri, and Karen Reed Norwell, who ran those 3 programs for the students there. And then lastly, we wanted to share that we did hold in June a 2-day instructional leadership institute for our building administrators and their teams that they brought with them. This was led by April and her coordinators, and it was an opportunity for those building teams and administrators to take a look at their success from their 22-23 school improvement work. They were able to assess their progress towards their own individual school goals, to celebrate what was successful, and to kind of dig in and really analyze what maybe they need to still continue to work on and why maybe there wasn't progress in those areas. The PD sessions centered around mathematics and literacy, eliminating disparities, and character education. And it was an opportunity for those building administrators to really have time to do a comprehensive data review of their own individual schools' data and exchange things. And while I'm talking, April Imperia is texting. And let me just check and make sure. And her answers are, let's see, it was free SAT prep. She didn't completely answer the question. I'll text back and see if I can get more clarity.
And I guess a follow-up question would be, are they planning to do that in the fall? Because the first SAT test is, I think, is it in October?
I am not sure on the dates, and I don't know about whether the SAT prep classes will run during the school year or if it was a summer opportunity.
Thank you.
So,
All right.
any other questions about any of that? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the update. Okay, trustees, part of our consent agenda, we do have our personnel report and minutes from 4 special meetings that were held throughout June and July. So can I first get a motion to consider the consent agenda?
I move to resolution to acceptance of the consent agenda.
Support.
Okay. So discussion, questions, Mr. Naforos, would you like to talk about the personnel report?
Sure. You will see quite a bit of hiring. As you know, it's typically hiring season during the summer. It's not actually downtime for my department in the summer for much of it, because we do try to work with our administrators mostly in June and again here in August, but some also come in July to make sure they get their openings filled in time. So we've been doing some hiring on a regular basis here, so you'll see many names of new teachers we have hired, and there will still be a few more being hired over the next couple weeks. In terms of the new principal candidate for Birmingham Covington, we do have a final candidate. We are finishing up that process. The candidate is meeting with her current supervisor, who was out of town until tomorrow morning, and that person has asked her not to say anything until it can be announced within her school community, likely on Thursday. So we couldn't get ahead of her because it could get out and put her in a difficult position in her own community. So we hope to have some more information for you. I'll touch base with Dr. Roberson and Dr. Lindenberg about the timing with that. But she would likely start in mid-August here. But Mr. Hill has been doing a great job keeping things going and then actually hiring some people, as you may see on the board report here. So the building will be more than ready to go with his hard work this summer. But a lot of wonderful teachers we're hiring, and hearing good feedback from the principals who are recommending them to us. And when we meet them in our HR office, they're very excited to join Birmingham and are speaking very highly of the process they went through with the buildings, and they're all really looking forward to joining us.
Did you want to introduce?
Yes, I will introduce Mr. Teratuda. Kevin Teratuda is sitting next to me. You had the opportunity to meet him last week at a closed session that we had scheduled. Kevin joined us a little over 2 weeks ago from the Clawson Public Schools, where he was the finance director for about a year and a half or so, and prior to that, he was in public accounting with Plant Moran for about 8.5 years. So we're very pleased to have him. We've been making him drink from a fire hose of all the information he's trying to absorb over the last couple weeks, but I know his business office is very excited to have him joining them, and obviously he succeeded Dr. Gistinger, who was the intern with us for about 18 months or so.
Yes.
So welcome to Kevin.
Welcome.
And we are very excited to have you, so welcome, and hopefully things will be moving along smoothly here for the first month of your job. Okay.
I had just a couple of
Yep.
comments and a quick question. So first, I wanted to acknowledge Jen Dwyer, who had a Herculean task to follow behind Joan Crafton at Greenfield Elementary as the secretary there. I saw that she's leaving, so I hope that we find someone equally as good as Jen and Joan, who were there for a number of years. I also noticed that we hired a spouse of one of our current teachers, which is not an issue, but can you remind me or us of our policy around that?
Our policy is
Yeah,
mainly
okay.
tied to, like
Okay.
most policies, that they can't report to someone that they would work under. And so we have spouses, and many of them working across the district
so
here,
many.
but as long as they're not in a reporting relationship.
Again, not an issue, I just wanted to know.
No,
Okay,
it's a-
okay.
Yeah, as long as they're not in a reporting relationship, it's permissible under our policies.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you, and Dean, I know you and your whole department are always busy doing all this hiring at this time, so thank you, along with our contract negotiations. Okay, trustees, if there are no further questions, and I get everyone to, are we ready to vote on this? Okay, all in favor of the consent agenda, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That passes 6-0, Joan. Our next two items are the contracts that we have recently settled. So Resolution 3 is for the ratification of our tentative contract with the Birmingham Association of Paraprofessionals, the BAEOP, is that how we say that? And this is for 3 years, so 23, 24, 24, 25, and 25, 26. Trustees, can I get a motion to consider resolution number 3? You don't have to read it all.
Okay.
All right. If people have questions, I'm assuming Mr. Naforos will be answering them.
Yeah, I can just give you a quick couple highlights. Obviously, this is our paraprofessionals, approximately 168 paraprofessionals, majority who work in our special ed area with some of our most vulnerable students. Obviously, we know our paraprofessionals are incredibly valuable to support our students and our teachers across the district, and wonderfully dedicated people across the district who work in these roles. So we have negotiated with Mr. Worrell and Ms. Ryan, the president, and their team, a 3-year contract that includes wage increases in all 3 years. It's adjusting the pay schedule a little bit to make it more competitive, including adding some longevity steps and other things as well to honor those paraprofessionals who stay with us longer. There generally is a higher turnover in paraprofessional roles across all school districts, and we do have many who give us many years in a row, so we also want to provide that incentive, and that is existing in other contracts too, including our teacher's contract. The contract, again, will expire in 2026, and it is within the parameters that the board provided to us to settle this contract.
Okay. Trustees, questions?
The first thing I want to say is that you notice that under the resolution, the part that falls under from the strategic plan is the world-class talent. And I believe that it's so accurate and true for every single person in this, and all the others. Playing this one. And also that the plus of this is a 3-year contract, so we're going to have them for a long term. And they would be happy with us for a long term, so it's exciting to have a long commitment. That's it.
And I I will add that since I've served on the board for the past 4.5 years, one of the things that has been consistent is the importance of the paraprofessionals. They are a highly regarded group that helps assist teachers in the classroom. So for me, this was a matter of equity, and so it was kind of a no-brainer for me to support this.
Thank you.
Without reiterating the comments of Trustee Joseph and Trustee McKinney, I want the community and everyone to know the value of paraprofessionals. I mean, they are not just extensions of teachers, but they build the most important relationships with kids. These kids they look forward to their parapro that they get to see on a daily basis. These paraprofessionals go above and beyond every job task that's been asked of them, in the classroom, out of the classroom, and they make connections with the whole building, not just the students, but the students' families. This is such an important piece in the education of our kids that I again want to ditto what the two trustees before me said and just add that. I loved, when I got to have one in my classroom, I was like thrilled, beyond thrilled, because I know that my job would be easier and my students' job in learning would be that much more enriched. So thank you.
Thank you for adding that. And Mr. Noforis, just one quick thing. We talk in here about the longevity rate. And obviously, our hope is that that helps to keep our paraprofessionals because, you know, replacing paraprofessionals isn't easy in this hiring environment. And in addition, as Trustee Angeloni and everyone else just mentioned, I mean, teachers depend on the paraprofessionals, parents depend on these paraprofessionals. So our hope is that we can actually make sure that we're keeping them for a long time.
Yes, that was the intent of the economic settlement that we had with Mr. Worrell and the paraprofessionals. You know, we had a lot of discussion about, as Mr. Joseph said, the retention of talent here, and particularly the talent in this group was very, you know, paramount in our mind. We want to retain as many paraprofessionals as possible to keep that consistency with the students, as Trustee McKinney, Trustee Angeloni said. It's very important. So the goal of longevity amounts that are additional amounts you pay on top of the wage, base wage, is part of that. It helps retain people so they stay longer, they reach certain points, and incents them to stay longer because they're ready to move to a longevity jump that adds to their pay.
Okay. Well, trustees, if there are no further comments or questions, can we go ahead and vote on this? Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Okay. Trustee, or Joan, that passes 6-0. And our second, or our fourth resolution, second contract, is resolution number 4, ratification of tentative contract with the Birmingham Association of Educational Office Personnel, not even going to try to say that acronym, for the school years. 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26. So again, this is also a 3-year contract. And can I get a motion to consider resolution number 4?
I move to consider resolution number 4, the ratification of a tentative contract with the BAEOP.
Yeah.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Okay. Please.
Thank you again. I don't think this one actually has a pronunciation. I think we just refer to the secretary contract. But likewise, again, our secretaries are also an integral part of running this district. As everyone knows, they are the backbones of all of our buildings and departments in which they serve. Certainly our administrators will tell you they would not survive without their secretaries, and they're invaluable in terms of supporting our teachers, our students. You know, they're a point person for our community and the parents who reach out to the school. And we certainly would not be able to run this district successfully without them. So we're very pleased to be able to have negotiated a 3-year contract with Mr. Worrell and Mrs. Van Fossen, who's the president of the Secretaries Association. Again, also 3-year deal, increase in the wage schedules as well to make it more competitive. There was also some increases in longevity steps for this group as well. For the same reason, we do tend to have some very long service secretaries who stay with the group for many years and stay with their schools for many years. We do lose a few to retirement and some opportunities, but many stay with us for several years, so we're very pleased with that. And then, again, this is a contract that is within the parameters that the board provided.
Thank you.
Dean, can you tell us?
Kudos, oh, I'm sorry, Jen.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say kudos and a big lift up to the president, Trish Van Fossen, for all the hard work she put behind negotiating this wonderful job. And I also want to bring forth the realization that the secretaries are the first face of the school. They are the first experience that a parent or new enrollee or student has going into a building, and they go out of their way to make the families and the kids feel welcome, take care of whatever problems they have, whatever business needs to get done. And I also want to illuminate the fact that their responsibilities since COVID has increased by, I don't know how much, I don't know how to quantify that. And they've assumed these responsibilities, and so they deserve whatever financial compensation, they deserve it.
Amen to that.
Can you just remind me for the community's sake, how many secretaries we have?
I believe we have 47, I believe, 47, 48, I think,
Okay.
yeah, offhand. And I agree with you, Mr. Scaglione. Obviously, they are the point. Probably everybody, and I will tell you, I mean, it's been a while since I've been out of my K-12 experience, but I can literally remember the secretaries' names at both my high school and the Catholic grade school I went to, and they were always there. There was somebody you could always stop by and see, and I've been out of those places for quite a while now, but I still remember them, as I'm sure many of you do, and I'm sure many of our students will leave here saying the same thing.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are 11-month employees?
There are some 12-month secretaries at our high schools and within the central office here, and some of the district departments, and then the rest are 11-month secretaries. And then some of them, the receptionists and the ones that often are the front face in some of the buildings are the ones that are like 10 and a half months. They work closer to the beginning of the school year.
But they're doing a lot of the work to help prepare the schools before our students get there. They're, helping with registration. I think we often forget how much has to go on during the few months that the students aren't here, and the secretaries are a huge part of that, so.
Definitely.
Yes?
Again, world-class talent. But I'm so excited to also be having a 3-year contract and also to secure them, for them to be happy for a long period of time. But I also want to say one thing from the financial point of view, that our state of Michigan legislators gave us a higher per student figure from the budget that we passed, which produced lower expected or higher income, I should say. So basically this increase is kind of washing it off, and it has not changed our budget. Am I correct?
That and some other money, yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the public knows that.
Okay. Trustees, if there are no further comments or questions, all in favor of approving resolution number 4, ratification of the tentative contract with the Birmingham Association of Educational Office Personnel, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Thank you so much.
And that also passes 6-0. And that concludes our human resources portion of the meeting. We do now have one more resolution. This is the part of our security And it is our contract with the city of Birmingham to secure a full-time SRO. Aaron, do you want to go to the podium, just in case people have questions? First, trustees, can I get a motion to consider resolution number 5, agreement between the city of Birmingham and the Birmingham School District providing for a school resource officer?
I move for the consideration of resolution number 5 for the employment of a school resource officer.
Second.
Okay, so, I don't know if you just want to give a little bit of a brief history as to how we got to this point, and then we can open up for questions.
A school liaison officer. I think originally people didn't understand the difference between a liaison officer and a school resource officer. Completely different duties. So we worked really hard to get an SRO, a school resource officer, who would be dedicated full-time to our schools, who would have the time to get to know our students, because it's not just about having a law enforcement connection who can make reports, but it's about having that connection with the students and just noticing their behaviors and, struggles and being a mentor to them. So we worked really hard with the city, and I appreciate Chief Gruey, because he is 100% on board from the get-go with having an SRO. And that's how we ended up here. So there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of legalese between the legal departments, and we're here with our final contract.
Excellent. And so this officer will primarily be at Seaholm High School, but will also have responsibility for how many other schools?
Correct. So any school that falls within the city of Birmingham.
Seahorn, Court, and Pierce.
Yes.
Sorry.
And that's the difficulty with our specific district, right? Because we have so many different agencies that service our schools. So it was kind of a struggle, but we're happy to be at this point. And you have the contract, and it's long, and there's a lot in there. But all the stuff that I wanted in there is in there, about the experience for the officer. The best practice is to have an officer with at least 5 years' experience. And then the additional part of the training. Birmingham's already on board with getting their training started for the officer that they haven't even selected yet. But they're on board with getting them the national training. Because we want not just a police officer, but we want a police officer with the additional skill of being a school resource officer.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes,
trustees?
I had a question because to the point that Trustee Ashlooney just stated, we have these 5 schools listed. Can we clarify that we still have a representative at Groves High School? My understanding is that we do. Is that correct?
We do.
Okay.
And
With Beverly Hills.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
we
so-
clarified that.
So
for the
Beverly
public.
Hills is still covering, as their liaison is covering, and that's in the works still as well. We're pushing real hard, we're trying to get an SRO. It's hard with smaller departments, not just a teacher shortage and nurse shortage, but there's a police officer shortage. So especially with smaller departments, it's hard for them to commit and say, we'll give you a full-time officer, and then they're short in their other areas. But Troy, they cover their schools still. Bluefield Township still covers their schools. We will just have a full-time SRO for all of our Birmingham schools.
I love it. So I love the idea of having the students get to know the SRO. What type of activities should we expect for them to get that introduction?
So I don't want to speak for the officer that's coming in. I want him to be able to build his own
Okay.
program, but there's a lot of ways to do that.
Okay.
Obviously, a former SRO, so I have a really passion for this, and I still have students reaching out to me on social media. I'm like, where'd you go? We don't see you anymore. How are things? Are you ever coming back? So I want our SRO to build those kind of relationships that are kind of long-lasting, and I'll be here to help and guide and give them some suggestions from my history.
Okay, thank you. That's fair.
I'm just curious what's gonna happen to Jim. This isn't Jim.
Oh, Jim? Jim's not going anywhere. Jim's the face of Seahome. He's not going, so we'll still have security staff at our high schools, and they'll work collaboratively with our SROs.
Can I ask, I have two questions. One, is the SRO going to be a plainclothes officer?
They will wear,
Or whether,
they will not be plainclothes. They will wear a uniform. And there's pros and cons for both, right? So again, like research, or anecdotally, like plainclothes, softer uniforms, feel more approachable. But also, like in the lower levels, when you visit the like elementary or middle schools, kids are fascinated with police officers. They see the uniform and they're attracted to it, and they want to talk to you and ask you all questions. So it's as of now, it'll be a full uniform. But again, based on the police department too, they get.
is it based on the decision or the choice of the officer himself? Or is that a collective decision?
So I think as of now, the police department is going to make that decision, how they want their officers to be equipped. And we can always discuss in the future how,
Just wondered.
based on their experience, because they're new to this program too, right? Like in my previous role, I dressed according to what I was doing that day. If it was going to be a casual talk with like high schoolers, I would wear a polo and be dressed down a little bit so I was more approachable. But if I was going to go talk with littler younger students, they like the flashy police car and the lights, and they like all that kind of stuff. So again, I'd want to leave it up to that specific officer to make those decisions on how he feels he's going to be able to interact with the students the best.
Okay. Now, also, last question. Covering 5 schools, how often can we expect to see the presence of our SRO in a building?
Which is a great question, because ideally, we'd love to have one in every school, but that's not going to happen because the police department doesn't even have enough staff to do that. They just wouldn't have enough officers. So he'll have to work with the principals and see what their busy times are. Again, it's going to be a learning experience for that specific officer, and I can help guide him. Again, arrival and dismissal times, they're staggered at the district, so that's good, because that's usually when principals will say, hey, can you just come here and help us with our dismissal because parents are out of control, or they're just driving over the lawn, or whatever it is. And then he can make an appearance there, smooth things out, and then go to other schools. But we didn't really say you have to be at Seahome from 7 to 8, and then you have to be here from 8 to 9. That's just not, it's not practical.
I can understand that it would be on a demand basis,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
My question.
Karen, I think you answered this, but I just want to make sure. So we have the 5 schools for Birmingham, and then when we partner with Beverly Hills, we'll have our elementaries that are Beverly Hills and Berkshire and Groves covered. But for the West Maple, the Pembroke, and the Harlan, that's just going to be working with the local police departments and that where they're located.
Correct, because those departments already have SROs. Like Bloomfield Township has an SRO assigned to their schools, and then they also come to our district for the ones that are in their jurisdiction.
Okay.
So that's like an extra school that they cover with their full SRO duties.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
I did have one more question. So the contract said it was for a year. So for consistency purposes, is it good so what happens at the end of the year? Do we get a new SRO or?
No, and that was kind of a back and forth point with the contract, and like best practices, you want to have an SRO. It takes probably about 3 years to get a routine. So you want to have the same person. You don't want to have a lot of turnover in this position. So the contract's renewable each year. But again, that was a sticking point with like both sides. How long should the contract be? I think originally what I proposed was a 3-year contract with renewable for up to like two times. But this is what came back from both legal. But again, I would push for the same officer in the same role. Again, as long as they're willing to do it. Again, with SROs, like our Troy SRO, he was amazing, but he's promoted. So he's not coming back. They're going to have a new one. So promotions, kind of like, and even with Birmingham, the school liaison officer, we've had quite a few because they've been promoted to other positions. So, but again, consistency is key. Like once you know the students and you build a routine, you want to keep that person in that routine.
so much.
I have a quick question. It says about training and certification that the officer will have all of these different trainings, the mental health and trauma-informed care and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think these are all really important things for this person to be trained in. Where will they be receiving these trainings?
Sure. So, like, law enforcement training is pretty abundant. But the main training that I think for this role is going to be through NASRO. It's the National Association of School Resource Officers, and it's a full week training, and that's what they're already looking into. But then it's going to be ongoing training, right? The person that they select for this position isn't going to have all this training right off the bat. It's more about a good fit. Like, do you like working with students, and what's your background, what's your educational background? But those are all the trainings that we've all, like, both sides agreed to that were necessary for this role.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And I just want to point out one thing at the top of the resolution, the connection with our strategic plan. Jonah and I went a little back and forth on this, but we felt like this covers two very important areas of our strategic plan. The first one being culture of unity and well-being, because obviously the safety of our children is paramount to their unity and well-being. And the second one is also world-class talent, because I do believe that schools that have school resource officers, and when those officers develop relationships with the kids, that I think that's a huge talent pool, and something that, since Birmingham really hasn't had a full-time SRO, I'm very much looking forward to that being part of our staffing and talent pool. So I just wanted to point that out, because I think at first we didn't have anything on there, and then Jonah and I were like, well, wait a minute, which one should it be? So.
And we can have them participate in Career Day.
Oh, good idea.
He'll have a standing room only. By experience, I know this.
Okay.
Police officers always attract students.
If nobody has any more questions or comments about the contract, can I get a vote to approve this? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Okay, Joan, that passes 6-0.
Thank you, Erin.
And yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know you were kind of last minute put on the spot, but I do feel this is very important, because this has been an ongoing discussion with our board for, I feel like, several years. And obviously, you know that, we've gone back and forth with our municipalities, but I'm happy that we're starting to get this put in place, and I think it will be a huge advantage for us. All right, well, so that concludes the security portion of our meeting. Trustees, does anybody have any other topic?
It's not a new topic, but I just want to quickly go back to something that was said earlier in the meeting. I know Trustee Joseph mentioned that we received additional funding from the state, and I do want to acknowledge our governor and our state legislators who worked bipartisan to get this unprecedented budget approved to benefit our schools, which is a huge accomplishment. I believe Trustee Joseph mentioned, we used some of that money to support the resolutions that we passed today, but I just want to clarify that although we could use the funding, it was optional, we didn't have to, but I wanted to say that this board made a conscious effort to use those funds to give back to our staff here. And then also that is not in perpetuity. It is one-time funding, but we, again, still made a conscious effort to invest in our staff. And so I just wanted to make that clarification and acknowledge that.
Thank you. Anybody else for updates? Okay.
President Hockamore, before you
Yes.
close the meeting out, I did hear from Ms. Imperio about the answers to the questions regarding the SAT prep course. It was free this summer. Only the PE and health courses that I mentioned cost students or their parents likely any money. And they will be offering the SAT prep courses both before and after school during the school year.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Well, good news, and thank you for following up on that before the meeting even got over. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Well, that's efficient meeting, President.
Oh, yeah. Joan, 6